Okay then, Grishma, let us start the session.
Okay, ma'am. So, good afternoon, all. Today, we are all gathered here for the inauguration of our Entrepreneurship Development Cell and to being a part of the session conducted along with us on the topic Entrepreneurship in Education. So, first of all, my question is, who is an entrepreneur? We are all familiar with the name like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Steve Jobs. And we all know that Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft, Zuckerberg is the founder of Facebook, and Steve Jobs is the founder of Apple. They are all renowned entrepreneurs. It's right before our eyes that how their innovative ideas has changed the world, how they could change the way we think and the way we live. Actually, there was a troll on Zuckerberg. Many of you might have seen this with his picture where he spent his time with his family. And it says that he is the person for corals in every family that he made us to sit before the Facebook and now he is enjoying his leisure time with his family. Let's take its positive aspect. None of you can deny the influence of Facebook in our day to day life, even from teenagers to the older ones. Why I'm saying this because I was the one who created Facebook ID for my parents and some of my relatives, and now they are more expert than me in using it, and I'm still unaware of many of its features. So what I meant to say that this is the power or success of an entrepreneur, that how they could change our life or how they could influence our life. In simple words, we can say that entrepreneurship is not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen. So, an entrepreneur is an initiator, a challenger, or someone who creates something new, who experiment with something new, either an initiative, a business, or a company. And nowadays, entrepreneurships or startups are gaining much more importance as it promotes social changes driving from innovation. Much of the innovations derives from forward-thinking individuals who possess the urge or drive to do something different. They can impact on the wider community and in some cases even the world. And the need of startups has been increasing since the government is promoting and extending hands towards new ventures. Especially, it is significant during this pandemic situation where the world is facing a job crisis and the current job opportunities fail to satisfy the job seekers. So, here, the startups provide hope for all those creative and innovative minds. So, this is a platform where you can get more information about entrepreneurship and its scopes. So, without wasting time, let's start the session with a prayer. I invite Nimita for prayer.
It's a kind request. If possible, please switch on your videos when you are talking. Okay.
प्रार्थना സത്യസ്വരൂപനാം കർമ്മ ചൈതന്യമേ എന്നെന്നുമുള്ളിലുണരണമേ നേർവഴി തേടും ഞങ്ങളെയും നിന്റെ ചൈതന്യമേകി അനുഗ്രഹിക്ക അറിവാകുമൊരഗ്നി ജ്വാലയേകി മനസ്സിനെ നിർമ്മലമാക്കണമേ കേണ്ടിടാം ഞങ്ങളൊരഗ്നിയാക്കി പകർന്നിടാം ഞങ്ങൾ തൻ കുരുന്നുകളിൽ വിജ്ഞാന സാഗരമുള്ളിലൊതുക്കി ഉജ്ജ്വലവാഗ്നിത്വം കൈവരുത്തേണം ഉണ്ണിക്കിടാങ്ങൾ തന്നുള്ളുണർത്താൻ ഞങ്ങളെ വിജ്ഞരാക്കിയിടണമേ സത്യസ്വരൂപനാം കർമ്മ ചൈതന്യമേ.
Thank you, Nimita. Now I invite Sandhya for Acharya Anusmaranam.
आचार्यानुस्मरणम् प्रौढाकारं मसृणनयनम् मन्नगे हे प्रभूतम् स्नेहाधारं सरसवचनं कर्मयोगीन्द्रमुख्यम् विद्यालोलं कठिनयतिनं पद्मनाभं सुदक्षम् वन्दे जिष्णुजनहितकरं भारते केसरीन्द्रम्.
Thank you, Sandhya. Now, I'm glad to invite Dr. Mridula K, Coordinator of Entrepreneurship Development Cell, for welcome speech.
Thank you, Grishma. Respected Principal Dr. Ambali Aravind Madam, I'm so sorry to say that she is not here. She was supposed to be here 2 minutes back. She called me and said that she has to attend some other, I don't know what exactly it is. And she was so sorry that she couldn't attend the meeting today. Anyway, in her absentia, respected Principal Dr. Ambali Aravind Madam, today's guest of honor and my dear friend Dr. Savita Madam, College Union Chairman Shri Anandakrishnan Sir, Staff Secretary Shri Akhil K. Sridhar, Student Secretary of Entrepreneurship Development Cell, Ms. Silfa Anna Joy, and my dear colleagues and my dearest students. You know, today is a much awaited day in my life and for my institution also. Establishment of Entrepreneurship Development Cell has been discussed and, executed by our principal and faculty members long back as a placement cell in our college. Every year, under the auspice of the placement cell, Job Fest and Job Fair has been conducted not only for the alumni of our college, but also for all those, teacher degree holders. And our institution maintains a very good relationship with the best schools in and around Palakkad district and not also inside Kerala and outside Kerala. Even during this pandemic session period, we have conducted this online job fair and many of the students were able to secure promising jobs. And in that we are not only degree providers, but also we are supporters for job seekers also. But at the present moment, it has created a situation where our responsibility has increased. See, I have to admit the entrance also, that is a problem. Increased to empowering our students from job seekers to an entrepreneur, where they can use their potential to the fullest. Moreover, it has become mandatory that higher education institutions has to establish entrepreneurship development cell in their institutions. In this context, this session on entrepreneurship development, that is entrepreneurship in teacher education, the need and importance is justified. Now, let me move on to my responsibility. Our principal, Dr. Ambali Aravind, has always been a guiding force, and she is behind us, guiding us in organizing and executing all the activities that is being carried out in the institution. And for this program also, she is the sole person who said, who gave me, who motivated me to conduct a program like this. Now, at the moment, she is not with us here. In her absentia, I welcome our dearest principal, Dr. Ambali Aravind ma'am, to this session. Now, talking about Dr. Savita L. I have mentioned that in the beginning that this is a much awaited moment for me in my life. You know, I must say that Savita is my soulmate. And nothing more I have to say. What else shall I say? We were together from 2004 onwards, from our MEd degree, when we both did our MEd at RIE Mysore together. And from that day onwards, our relationship started, and she is my best friend. More than a friend, she is my sister also. And I have happily watched and observed her growth day by day as an individual, as a woman, you know, and at the moment as an entrepreneur. And Grishma will introduce her more to you. And my dream was to bring her, to use her expertise for my students of my institution. And that dream has been fulfilled today. And that is why I told that it is a much awaited moment in my life. On behalf of my institution and myself, I welcome you to this session, Dr. Savita. Now, I welcome College Union Chairman, Mr. Anandakrishnan, Staff Advisor, Akhil K. Sridhar, Secretary of Entrepreneurship Development Cell, Silfa Anna Joy, my dear teaching and non-teaching faculty, and my dearest students to this session. I'm quite sure that you people will take back wonderful ideas and wonderful, you know, it will be a really inspiring session for you all. Once again, I am welcoming each and every one of you to this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As Mridula ma'am mentioned, the presidential address was supposed to be done by our principal, Dr. Ampali Aravind, but due to some inconvenience, she is not able to preside the program. So let's move on to the inaugural session. We have our chief guest, Dr. Savita L, for the inauguration of our Entrepreneurship Development Cell. I'm profusely elated to take this opportunity to introduce our chief guest. First of all, let me tell you that we can't find someone more apt than her to inaugurate our Entrepreneurship Development Cell and as a key speaker of this session. Why I'm telling this? Because she herself is an entrepreneur. She is the CEO of Syntac Edu Services, Mysore, and founder and director of Little Sky, the virtual school. She has an experience of more than 2 decades in the field of education. She was the former lecturer in Theresian College for Women and St. Joseph Teacher Education College, Mysore. She became the founder principal of Kautilya Vidyalaya, Mysore, where she served for 15 years. She has conferred the prestigious Abdul Kalam Award by the Avantika Group for her achievement in the field of education in May 2019. In short, she has contributed tremendously to the field of education and is still actively contributing to the educational sector. So with my greatest pleasure, I invite Dr. Savita L for inaugurating Entrepreneurship Development Cell of NSS Training College, Ottappalam.
Hello, is there a network issue? Think she has left the meeting. She will rejoin shortly. Let us wait. Yeah,
Sorry, there was a power failure. Excuse me for that. Ms. Mrudula, I just missed out the last part. Just indicate to me when I need to start.
Yeah, sure. You can do the inaugural address now. And after that, after the whole program, we can move on to the keynote address. Okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Namaste, my dear friends. First of all, I would like to convey my heartfelt gratitude to my dearest friend, Dr. Mrudula, for having given me this opportunity to connect with you all young leaders of the future world. I'm extremely elated to be doing the honors of inaugurating your entrepreneurship cell, because this is something I hold very close to my heart. And I feel there can never be a befitting program or an audience for me than this, because this is where my passion lies. And I'm extremely happy to be addressing a bunch of to-be teachers. You are the nation builders. And today, the inauguration that's happening is not a simple thing. This is one of the milestones in your college, in the history of your college, because it's definitely going to change the way you think, the way you look at things, and also the way you start conducting yourself. I think there's going to be magic in your life once the cell happens and starts functioning well. So I'm extremely happy. Since I would be talking to you in the later part of the day, I would like to keep this very short and wish the college all success, and may many more entrepreneurs come out of this college and make an impact in the society and make India proud and the community of teachers very proud. Thank you so much, and congratulations to all the members who've made this possible for the college. So thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, I invite Sri Akhil K. Sridhar, Staff Secretary of NSS Training College, Ottapalam, for felicitation.
Thank you, Grishma. I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Respected Ambali ma'am, our principal, Dr. Mrudula ma'am, a coordinator of EDC, today's chief guest, Dr. Savitha ma'am, CEO from Mysore, Mr. Anantha Krishnan, Chairman College Union, Ms. Silfa Anna Joy, Secretary EDC, my dear colleagues, dear M.Ed and B.Ed students. Today we are very happy that our college EDC is formed for the first time, because we can make aware of our student teachers about the functions of the development cell and give more opportunities to our student teachers to become self-sufficient. I think this cell can enhance the knowledge and skill of entrepreneurs through several classroom coaching programs and training. Also, this cell can train and educate anyone interested in socio-economic development to promote entrepreneurship awareness and small business development. I would like to congratulate Principal Ambali teacher and Coordinator Mrudula teacher for taking the initiative for the development of the cell. Today we have a vibrant personality as our chief guest, and so no doubt this session will be fruitful to everyone and will nurture successful entrepreneurs. Best wishes for the future endeavors of the cell. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wishes. Now I invite Anantha Krishnan, College Union Chairman, for felicitation.
Good afternoon, respected Principal Ambali ma'am, our chief guest Savitha ma'am, and our Entrepreneurship Development Cell Coordinator Mrudula miss, our Staff Secretary Akhil sir, respected teachers, and my dear friends. Today we are gathered here for the inaugural section of our college entrepreneurship Development Cell. And I believe this would be a great success and it's a great opportunity for us. And I also feel very gratitude for being a part of this club, and my heartfelt wishes to all the members and the participants on this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandakrishnan. So, now we are all eagerly waiting for our key speakers note. The topic itself is quite interesting or something new for us. We all might have some queries in our mind that what are the possible ways of entrepreneurship in educational sector and how we can make it possible. Education is a driving force behind every country's development. Many schools have adapted to modernization using technologies, learning through online, and integrating science with arts. But it's a fact that students who are graduated or post-graduated lack the advanced skills and innovative thinking to work through the modern day challenges in the workplace. Thus, entrepreneurship can instill in students to think creatively and ambitiously to create opportunities, enhance confidence, and stimulate economy. We have so many examples before us that how creative minds have used entrepreneurship in educational sector. Janet Coyle, Managing Director of Founders for School, Angela Mayers, the founder of Choose to Matter, Matt Candler, founder of 4.0 Schools, are some of the entrepreneurs who are shaking the educational sector. Even Byju's Learning app is also a milestone as an enterprise from our Kerala. And why we go so far? Our chief guest herself is an entrepreneur, as I mentioned earlier, with her virtual school, Little Sky. So I think that she deserves to speak more authentically than me, as she has the right potential to deal with the session. So let's look forward to hearing from her on the topic, entrepreneurship in education, the need of the hour. So I invite Dr. Savitha L. for dealing with the session. Please, ma'am.
Thank you once again. And I'm humbled by your words. And also, as a very young entrepreneur, I feel really encouraged by such words and hope to do justice probably the next 45 or so minutes. And let me have a few hygiene rules reiterated, probably spelled out. If at all there's anybody who would like to speak, you can raise your hand and then speak. And if there are questions, we will take the questions at the end of the session so that we are able to focus on what we intend to learn. And today, friends, I'm going to be as informal as possible because I'm addressing my own community. And I very proudly declare that I'm a teacher first and entrepreneur next. So I am a teacher by choice. I've always been dreaming of being a teacher. And even in my future births, if I were given a choice, I would always love to be a teacher. I think only blessed people get to become teachers. So I'm really going to have a heart-to-heart talk with you people. It's not going to be any kind of a lecture and definitely not a monologue. I want this to be a dialogue. I want you to interact and participate. So with this, I would like to start my talk. I will not be presenting anything because I don't believe in reading from slides. As a teacher, I've always believed that the teacher should speak from the heart and the mind and not from the slide. So I always keep my presentations with illustrations and try to speak what I feel. Now, before I go to anything else, I would like to tell you about two categories of people in the whole world. Predominantly, the whole group of people on earth can be divided into two groups. One group is the 5% of people. Another group is 95% of people. What is the difference between these two groups and why am I categorizing them as 5% and 95%? These 5% are the ones who have great ambitions, desires to do something, courage to try something, and excel in life. They are extremely ambitious. And what do these 5% of people do? They hire the 95% of people who though they are talented, mostly work to make the dreams of the 5% come true. So where do you belong, friends? Do you belong to the 5% or the 95%? Can you quickly use the chat option and tell me where you belong? Do you belong to the 5% or the 95%? I would just like to see where you stand so that I understand the college demography better. Please use the chat option and say whether you belong to the 5% or the 95%. I repeat what I said. There are 5% of people on earth who dream and have the courage to make their dream come true, and the 95% who work for the 5% to make their dream come true as employees. So where do you fall, 5% or 95%? I would like your response, please. Okay, Aishwarya Menon says she belongs to the 5%. Welcome to the 5%, Aishwarya. Wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to see the others' responses as well. Devika, Grishma, and the others. Can you try responding? Yeah, Padmaja says 5%. Wonderful. Reshma, 5%. Yes, more of them. Okay, Grishma, all girls seem to be joining the 5% category. Silpa is also there. Okay, what are the boys planning now? Okay, fine, thank you. I get to see that most of you feel that you should be in the 5% category. And then even if we don't have the courage, we would never like to say we want to belong to the 95% category. Now children, now friends, this is all about entrepreneurship. People who have a dream, people who have a desire, people who have the courage. I worked for so long as a teacher, a lecturer, very, very safe. First of every month, I used to get my salary. I need not worry about anything because my salary is guaranteed. But there was one thing I always felt, that I was not able to pursue my dreams. I did not have the flexibility to do what I wanted. I always had to work at the mercy of somebody else. And I thank my stars that I am able to come out of the vicious cycle and join the category of the 5% today. Now, friends, do teachers really have to look at entrepreneurship? Teachers are mostly trained to go for jobs. As your cell rightly says, that they're going to provide you job assistance. They're going to help you in getting a job. Now, what is this job? We go and join somewhere for a secure income and then start doing our work. Of course, there are many of us who feel comfortable working, but there are so many of us who may not like to be dictated by others. Where we feel that we are very creative, we want to try something out, do something new, but then a routine work starts stopping us from being creative. Entrepreneurship, according to me, the business part is the second one. First thing I say is finding opportunity in every problem is entrepreneurship. I'll just tell you an example of what I am doing today in Little Sky. I saw that there were many kindergarten schools shut. I saw that there were many parents who wanted to put their children in kindergarten schools, and there were no schools available. And I did not have enough money to start a physical school. I did not have the infrastructure required. So all that I could do was just use my creativity and experience and start a virtual school. I don't need a building. I don't need any other support. All that I need is a few teachers and students. Now, I have found opportunity in the problem called pandemic. And my biggest blessing has come in the form of COVID. That is the opportunity I got. And entrepreneurs are the ones who find opportunities in every problem. I would only say entrepreneurship is a mindset. It's an attitude of having the courage to try something on their own. Now, friends, as teachers, there are two things for which this entrepreneurship cell has to be there in every B.Ed college or teacher education college. One is to prepare teacher trainees to develop the entrepreneur bent of mind. Second, to train your children to become entrepreneurs. As a principal, in every speech of mine, I only used to ask children this question. Now, let me ask you this question. How many of you, as soon as you finish your B.Ed degree, would like to get salary of at least 1 lakh rupees per month? If I'm going to help you in getting a salary of 1 lakh rupees per month, how many of you would like to apply? Per month, 1 lakh rupees. Imagine that this is your placement offer. Tell me, please use the chat box and tell me how many of you would like to apply if you're going to get a job of 1 lakh rupees per month. Can you type your name? If you just say yes, I can see how many of you are willing. 1 lakh rupees per month. Okay? You can use the chat option and leave your responses. If you feel there is a catch and you don't want, yes, Saranya has applied. Good, I have the first applicant. 1 lakh rupees per month. Okay? Shibla has also responded. Savita, yes. Silfa, okay. Ananta Krishnan, fine. 1 lakh rupees. Yeah, it's quite tempting to get a salary of 1 lakh rupees. So if it is 1 lakh rupees, we get 12 lakh rupees in a year. Now, if I say you can start your own tutorial, oh, quite a few of you are applying now. Thank you for that. There is Anupriya who says, sure, I will, if it satisfies my interest too. Wonderful. Now, I would only say, we have been trained in such a way that we don't even know the kind of potential we have. Now, what I would say is, if you're going to get 1 lakh rupees per month, it is 12 lakh rupees. Do you know, if you start a virtual school today, get some students for tuitions, you hire a few teachers, and they teach, you market, you get people, and you can get people from all over India, all over the world. Do you know how much you can make in a span of 1 year? Nothing less than 50 to 60 lakhs. Minimum effort, maximum return. But unfortunately, we have not even been shown how to look at the other end of the horizon. Entrepreneurship is nothing big, it's not a challenging task. It's only about taking little risk and seeing what opportunity lies ahead of us. Now, you people are going to go out. Do you think you have jobs outside? Unfortunately, no. And your students may not have jobs at all, because artificial intelligence, blockchain, machine learning, all these things are there to reduce the requirement of human resource. And you must be knowing that in many schools of Bangalore, there are robots in the place of teachers. They have a software. The robots actually teach much better than any teacher. And few people like you and me are appointed only to monitor children. If a day comes when there are so many robots that we are not required, where are we going to end? So it's important for us to see what potential we have. Now, if at all you are given an opportunity to try being an entrepreneur as you are still in the college. Suppose the cell says you have to generate funds of 50,000 rupees in 2 months. Do you think you will be able to do that or no? I would say you will definitely be able to do that, because only when you are put in front of a problem, you will start finding solutions. And I would always tell my students, as a principal, I would always tell my students, don't look for jobs. Don't become job seekers. Become job providers. Friends, as soon as you finish your B.Ed and D.Ed and or M.Ed or whatever and come out, if you enter into a job and you're happy that you're able to run your family or manage your expense, there ends your creativity, because it becomes a monotonous thing. Now, today there are plenty of opportunities for teachers. You can start your own coaching centers, training centers, curriculum development cell, preparation of project activities, taking remedial education, specialized people, if you are good at something, there are enough companies which are looking for teachers or educators who can contribute in different fields. For example, now Byju's, Byju's, has origin in Kerala and is doing extremely well today. How did this idea come? This idea came because there was acute shortage of good quality teachers. Not many good teachers were available. That is when they knew that there would be need for a gadget-oriented teaching where students could learn without any physical presence of a teacher. So that was the opportunity. And do you think any business will be successful immediately? May not be. See, when you are looking at quality, only if there is quality, people will come to us. Now, what is quality? How would you define quality? Can you use the chat option and tell me the definition of quality, please? What is quality according to you? What is quality? Please attempt and tell me what is quality. Let me see who goes first. What is quality according to you? We say you can buy this is of good quality. What is quality? Okay, standard. Yes, then what is quality? Suppose somebody introduces something new, okay? Something which is best in the available range is quality, okay? So previously, see, many years ago or decades ago, anything that was fit for use was called quality. Like, for example, you take a nail cutter. If the nail cutter is able to cut your nail well, then it was said to be of good quality. But after that, there has been a change. Why I'm saying this is it's very relevant to our lives also. After some time, okay, totality of features is Shibla's, okay, have some value, fine. Now, anything that was fit to use was called quality, say about 30-40 years ago. Later, quality meant customer satisfaction. Only if you are able to satisfy your customer, if your college is able to satisfy your expectations, you will recommend more students into your college. Only if I am able to deliver good quality, there'll be more students coming into my virtual school. So, customer satisfaction is quality was the next statement. But now the latest statement, what Japanese call is, customers are God. If you don't please the customers, you cannot survive. Why we are talking about this is, whether we do our master's or degree, whatever, if we do not have quality, if we do not have standards, or if we do not have the expected outcome, that is the whatever is the expectation of the customer, if we do not deliver that, we cease to exist. So entrepreneurship is not only about developing business, it is also developing ourselves as one of the products of business. Now your brain, your creativity, your talent, your potential, that is your true investment. Now in our school, I would like to give you an illustration. If you want to develop this in your students, and you should develop this, because your children, you will have a tough time managing them in a class. Now, when you go into a classroom as a fresh teacher, they will give you a tough time if they find you not very suitable. What do I mean by say suitable? If you are teaching from the textbook, you are reading out from the textbook, they will not even attend your classes. I was teaching in a B.Ed college, and as a principal also I've seen many students who used to come for teaching used to face a lot of problems in the beginning. That was because their mindset was not such that they had adapted to suit the needs of the school. They used to come with 85%, 95% marks, but students in the high school would give them jitters. That was because these teachers were not ready to teach the present generation. Please mark my words, friends. The present generation, the ones who are born after 2000, that is the millennials, the Gen Z and the Gen Beta, these are the generations who come with a lot of digital instinct. They are able to do things effortlessly where we struggle to do things. Now, compared to us, you are digitally really much better. But compared to you, those children will be much better in analysis, much better in communication. They will be multitaskers, and they don't like to sit in your classrooms if you're going to be talking like I am doing for, say, 30, 40 minutes. You will have to handle live wires. And for that, you have to have an entrepreneurial bent of mind. In the sense, you have to innovate. Your class has to be very creative. You have to have projects and things which suit the customer. Now, you will cease to be a good teacher if you don't know what your students want, what your parents expect, what your school expects. So for this to happen, we have to now start training the way we think. And how do we usually think? We think, okay, I should teach the way I was taught in school. But let me tell you, friends, we belong to a different generation. I belong to the baby boomers generation, where you people belong to the Gen X generation. So what happens? There is a lot of difference in the way we think, the way we behave. So today, young teacher trainees are supposed to get prepared for entrepreneurship, because the purpose and objective of teaching also has changed. Teaching learning has changed the course. So previously we used to say getting a lot of knowledge is education. If you know more, you're educated. Today it's no longer accepted. We say today it's not acquiring knowledge, it is creating new knowledge. You have to be able to create new knowledge. How does that happen? That can happen only when we start changing the way we are teaching in schools. We can't teach the way it was taught 20 years, 30 years ago. We have to be innovative. So what we had done in our previous school, I would like to share that with you, to develop entrepreneurship in children is have one test and exam replaced by entrepreneurship fest, where students were grouped into 4 or 5. They had to invest money, conduct business, sell the items, and then get the customers' reports, prepare balance sheets, analyze their mistakes, calculate their profit or loss, attribute it to the cause for profit or loss. So thereby they would get an opportunity to try entrepreneurship. So as teachers, if we do not change our attitude towards the subjects we are teaching, see, what are we going to teach in the class? Is it the content which is more important? Today, why do they need teachers like you and me? Because the content is available on Google. They can just Google and get all definitions, all explanations. There are YouTube videos, everything there. Then why do they need teachers like you and me? Please tell me, what is that we can give which Google cannot give? I want you to use the chat option and leave your response there. Why? What is that you and me can give which Google cannot give? Please tell me. Use the chat option. I would like to see what you respond. Please try. What is that Google cannot give which you and I can give? Yes, I would like to see some responses. Okay, interaction. Fine. An apt environment to involve them more in activities. Okay, motivation, emotional understanding and exchanges, warmth of conversation, react with emotions. Okay, guidance. Wonderful. Very good. Emotions. Very good. Create genuine enthusiasm. Yes. Guidance. Yes, friends. Mental support. Okay, moral support and emotional support. Yes. See, along with all these things, I think the most important aspect where we need to touch children is to inspire them to learn, inspire them to innovate, inspire them to try new things. This inspiration cannot be given by Google. It's not available because Google will not be able to see the potential in a child. Google cannot say, yes, Aishwarya, you can do it. Please try this. Google will not say, Devika, you are extremely good at this. You can try something. Google does not have any personalized instruction for anybody. But a teacher can always touch the lives of children. So now, as you go into classrooms as teachers, you will be faced by numerous challenges. And only when you start encouraging children, as a principal, I always used to tell them when the alumni would come to me, I would ask them, what do you do? And if they came and told me, ma'am, I'm getting a salary of 50,000 or a lakh or whatever, I only used to say, oh, is that so? Okay. But then when there were students who would come back and say, ma'am, I'm doing my own business, I've hired 4 people, 5 people, we used to appreciate such children. Because students who are able to go out and then provide jobs to others are really required for our nation. Today, Modi ji is speaking of Atmanirbhar Bharat. What is this Atmanirbhar about? Being dependent on oneself, being independent, not depending on someone else. Why are these youngsters saying we are not getting jobs? The government should give us jobs. Are we not capable enough of creating our own jobs? Why are we not capable of doing that? Is because right from the 3rd or 5th year of our life, we are always told that we should get a good job. If you don't study well, you will not get a good job. There is conditioning happening. So I'll just tell you one small inference, like, you can also observe that. In front of your temples, mostly in Kerala, you will see elephants. These elephants, a huge elephant is usually tied by a rope, thick rope, or a chain. Have you ever wondered if the elephant cannot break itself free? Is it not possible for such a huge elephant to escape from the chain or the rope and break free? Please tell me, is it not possible? I want you to use the chat option. Tell me, is it possible to break free or not possible? It's such a huge animal. Okay, Aishwarya says yes. Ananta Krishna says yes. Yes, Silpa says possible. Harita says don't know. Okay, don't know its own potential. Okay, Harita says it doesn't know its potential. Wonderful. Thank you for the response, friends. Now, I'll tell you how the elephant is reared. There is a mahout who starts rearing the calf elephant. What he does is, when it is very small, he ties a very thick rope around the leg of the elephant and then allows it to just move around in the circumference of the pole. And this baby, that is the calf elephant, keeps trying to break itself free. It makes a lot of efforts. And he keeps telling, you can't break yourself free. The rope is too thick. The rope is very strong. Every day, the calf is told that it cannot break free. The calf grows with this attitude in mind. It believes the mahout, and every day it is constantly told that it cannot break free. So what happens? Excellent. I got the answer there. Beena says it is conditioned. Pavlov's theory, conditioning, right? So it is conditioned to think that it is not possible to break itself free. So what happens? When it grows so big that it can actually break itself free, it's always told in the mind that it cannot break itself free. Please excuse me. Just sit. So when we are telling children constantly, or when you are constantly being told, okay, now Agina, you will have to study well, otherwise you will not get job in KV. Ananta Krishna, if you don't score well, you will not get a job at all. We can't help. When you're constantly told that you should go for a job, you will condition yourself to go only for a job. Suppose now on we say, okay, Devika, now you should go out, not take up a job, but start your own school. Aishwarya, I think you have a lot of leadership qualities in you, and please don't go and put your hand forward like this for a salary. You should be the other way around. You should be the giving one, not the receiving one. Now Aishwarya starts thinking, what should I do where I should not go and receive salaries? I should be able to give salaries. Now Devika starts thinking, How will I start a school? How much money will I require? How will I do it? See, when we put thoughts into your mind, you start thinking. It's like putting a seed in the soil. Now you've all seen green gram. This green gram, is it living or non-living? The green gram, I'm sure you've all seen that. We call pyre in Tamil. What do you call it in Malayalam? I don't know. Is this green gram living or non-living? Please respond through the chat box. Living or non-living? I want to see some responses. Green gram, whether it is living or non-living. I'm sure there are many teachers, science teachers here, who would be teaching living and non-living things. So what is a green gram? I would like to see some response. Okay. Not able to see any response. So are you in a confusion whether it's living or non-living? You know there is a catch, okay? Living because it sprouts, Anupriya, okay? Living, Reshma says. Now, okay, according to circumstances where it is placed, Beena says, okay. Silpa says living. Okay, friends, now if it is living, if I keep the green gram in a bottle in the shelf, is it going to grow? Is it going to sprout? Is it going to become a sapling? Definitely no. Beena is more philosophical. She has told me that it depends on the circumstances where it is placed. So Ananta Krishna says, no, it will not sprout if it is kept in the shelf. Now, where should I put the seed to make it living? It is in a dormant stage. Though it is living, it is in a dormant stage. It will become a living being, living object only when it is kept in the environment or the features, the special features required for it to bloom or to sprout. Similarly, children will be able to think on entrepreneurial lines only when you put them in a stimulating environment. Now, how are these employees? Let us see the comparison between employees and entrepreneurs. What do employees work for mostly? Bill and bell. At what time will I go home? When will I get my salary? How much salary will I get? But entrepreneurs work for passion. Now I've started my little sky. I can't tell you how happy and joyed I am that I have about 8 people working for me. Previously, my whole life, I've always taken salaries. Now I'm experiencing the joy of giving salaries. I'm taking a little bit of calculated risk, but what is happening is I'm able to get more profit because there are 95% people category who are working for me. I'm making my dream come true through the efforts of other people. So when we provide favorable environment for our students to develop the attitude of entrepreneurship, they bloom. You must be knowing KFC chicken. This gentleman, Captain Sanders, he started his company in his late 60s. Till then, he always worked for people and he was always rejected and dejected in life. Nobody respected him. Finally, when he lost his job and lost his family, everybody, he was so lonely that he decided he had to do something worthwhile. That is when he started thinking, what is that I have which I can try out? And he knew that he was good at making chicken. And he used that expertise of his in starting his own small business, in the backyard. And then it started becoming popular. People around started coming and asking him for more. And that is how today you see one of the best, topmost chains in the world, KFC. So every business starts with identifying one's own potential. And second is, what does the customers need? Like, I want you to give me one more response to this. Now, when I was young, or I was, about say 30, 40 years ago, there was a very famous brand of watch called HMT, Hindustan Machine Tools. They had one of the watches which was like the top brand. Today, what you see in Rolex, HMT was like that. And those days, if a father-in-law wanted to give some dowry to the groom. It used to be an HMT watch. It was a pride to wear an HMT watch. Today, do we see HMT watches? Has anybody seen HMT watches of late? You will be shocked to see that HMT has gone extinct. There is no watch called HMT, and the company sold itself. It is almost dissolved. What happened to HMT? HMT is extinct today because it did not change. It did not upgrade itself to suit the needs of the customers. Now, as teachers, if you are going to teach traditionally the way teaching happened 20 years ago, or how you learnt in your classroom, I will bet you will not be able to be successful in your career. That's because the world is changing, so is the scenario. Now, today there are multiple curriculums coming. You see now there was Montessori, then nursery. Now you will start seeing that there are so many new philosophies coming, the way children are learning. And the most shocking thing for many of us teachers is there are homeschools now. And more than that, unlearning is the learning is the new trend. Unlearning is the learning is the new trend. What is this? People do not any longer trust the traditional schools where there is only content being passed on. Is transfer of knowledge called education? Is it enough if we transfer knowledge to children? I give a lot of knowledge to you people. Do you think that's going to help you? Definitely not, because it will not help you in leading your life. What is that we are going to benefit from the traditional learning that we experience? Of course, we get a lot of knowledge, but if we don't know how to use the knowledge, we do not have wisdom, it is of no use. So today's mantra is adapt yourself. If Charles Darwin, who said survival of the fittest, could come back again, he would have said it is survival of the most adaptable. If we don't adapt to the changing society, it's going to be disastrous for us. And there is only one constant in life, and that constant is change. Change keeps happening. So what happens when change is happening? If we do not adapt and change with the scenario, we become extinct like HMT watches. So with this, I would like to, I think we will now open the floor for question and answers before I just wrap up the session, stating that entrepreneurs have a lot of opportunities today. MSME loans are provided, Mudra loans are provided. Today, banks are coming forward to fund youngsters who want to get into business. And there are many evangelists who are willing to invest if you have a brilliant idea. Now, I am also partner in 4 other companies. One is a coaching center. Another is a curriculum development center. Third one is a consultation firm where they are hand-holding schools. So there are plenty of opportunities for us if we are willing to learn and grow. And the world around, see, there are extremely, there are many countries where they do not have teachers. And if you are an English teacher, China is ready to pay you any amount and take you there, because they are now working on improving English in their country, and most of the Chinese need English teachers. Similarly, European countries do not have population at all. Their population is negative. So all the countries will be coming to India to recruit people. When they come here, do you think we have youngsters who have the right skill set, the right attitude, and the right knowledge? Dear friends, only if we start teaching children all 3, not just the knowledge part, but the skill, the knowledge, and the attitude. Only then they are going to be successful in their life. So thank you so much for your patience and then active participation. I appreciate those students who were responding to the questions. And I guess I have exhausted the time that I was allotted. And now we can open the floor for question and answers. Over to you, please.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful session and really an informative one. And now the floor is open for discussion. If you have any doubts or queries, you can ask to her.
You can unmute yourself and speak, or leave the question in the chat box.
Okay, you can unmute and you can ask the questions, please.
Ma'am, good evening.
Good evening, Nimita.
Thank you for the very wonderful talk. Ma'am, can you please suggest some resources or platforms from where we can update the trends in this field? And also, we'd like to make some network with some successful entrepreneurs.
Yes, Namita. See, there
Nimita,
are...
can you please type the...
No, I understood the question, Dr. Mridula. See, now if you are really interested in learning about entrepreneurship, there are quite a few forums available today. I can send the links of the forums to the college. And also now every college is supposed to have an entrepreneurship development cell. Now you can start collaborating with the cells of other colleges. That is where exchange of resources happen. And if you are interested, and what I would suggest is, friends, suppose there is one more year for you to finish the course. Don't wait for the exam to get over to start something new or try something new. You start with 5-6 children and start a coaching center. Or you start connecting with people. See, 5 of you can come together. One math teacher, one English teacher, one social science teacher, one English teacher. 5 of you come together, you start a virtual school. And you share the profits. See, now I would say there are 2 ways of learning entrepreneurship. One is by reading about entrepreneurship. Second is observing the coaches. Third is trying it yourself. See, when you try something, you actually get solid experience of it. I used to tell my children to become entrepreneurs, but till I could experience it myself, I did not know the kind of issues that arise. So if you're really interested in knowing more about entrepreneurship, there are excellent resources available, free, sources are there. I can always connect you into those things. Definitely, I'll do that for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. And also on LinkedIn, Nimita, if you connect with some communities on LinkedIn, they are looking for people like you. Suppose you are extremely good at content writing, or you're good at curriculum development, or you're very good at even creating very interesting questions for children, like application level questions. There is a lot of need for people like you. And it's not just the job that you have to focus on, you also have to start developing network. So start connecting with such companies and people on LinkedIn. That's one of the easiest ways of doing it.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
It was a useful session, and my question is, what are the suggestions for provisions to be proved in curriculum to promote entrepreneurship?
Can you come again, please? What are the suggestions?
I repeat, what are the suggestions for provisions to be proved in curriculum to promote entrepreneurship?
Okay. See, now if you see more than we giving suggestions, national education policy, you all must have probably, kind of read the national education policy, or at least have got a glimpse of this. The national education policy has clearly iterated that students need to be developed as entrepreneurs. That is why there is a major shift in the way the school format looks. Previously, it was 10+2. Now it is 5+3+3+4. That is, after 5 years of foundation, then 3 years of primary, 3 years of middle school, then 4 years of secondary has started. During this phase, if you see, now children are not going to be taking only science or only arts or only commerce. There is a combination. There is no demarcation between sports and scholastic and co-scholastic. All this is done keeping in mind developing youngsters as entrepreneurs. So in the curriculum, if we have to develop entrepreneurship, think that's what you want to know. My suggestion would be that when schools prepare their annual calendar, like we have annual day celebration, we have Independence Day celebration, we have this, that, whatever, we should also have a plan for developing entrepreneurial skills in children. If that is planned in a curriculum, we definitely start focusing on developing them as entrepreneurs. I had examples of children who used to be conducting business during their school days. Like 5th standard, 6th standard boys used to get these fidgets. You must be knowing the spinners or the fidgets. There was a boy who used to get some 8 or 10 fidgets from one of the shop near his house, where he would not pay a penny to the shopkeeper. Bring the fidgets, sell them in the school to his friends, and make 50 rupees profit for each fidget. Every month, we didn't know that he was making more than 5,000 rupees because he was literally selling it to the whole school. So entrepreneurship need not be developed by us. It starts happening when we start encouraging children. So the schools have to consciously weave in activities for developing this kind of experiences for children. I feel giving knowledge will not help. Providing opportunities for experiences should be done. I hope I've answered your question, Sufaina.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. It's clear.
Thank you. Okay,
Hello,
what are
ma'am.
the threats?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Beena. Yes, please
Ma'am,
tell me.
first of all,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. It was really a wonderful session. Thank you, ma'am. I have a doubt. So while we are starting an entrepreneurship, there may be some threats and difficulties. Could you please explain that?
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful question, Beena. Everything is easy when somebody talks about it, but when we go and start doing it, there are definitely a lot of gray areas or black spots, which we may not be knowing. One of the threat is that our attitude is such that we are not trained as entrepreneurs, especially if your parents are from the employee class. They will keep discouraging you not to try business because they feel you may lose money or you may not be successful. And mostly people around us do not want us to fail. They will start demotivating us that business is like gambling, only few people can succeed in it. That will be the first thing. And the difficulties we face is if we do not know how to manage. See, when I started my company, I had to look into the statutory. What are the taxes I have to pay? What is the kind of account I should open? What are the paperwork I should do? And where do I get the money from? And one person starting business is a challenge. Today, you will see that mostly 3 or 4 people come together and they start collaborative business. People do not just invest, they also bring value add. So what I have done is, I have a partner who's a company secretary who will take care of all the legal, statutory things. And I have another advocate who is a partner who will take care of all the legalities. I am an expert in education, so I am there. 3 of us have come together. So the difficulty is that we will not be good at everything. And we will not be knowing what are the gray areas. So initially when we start business, it is good that we start at a smaller level or start with somebody without investing too much. But again, partnership doesn't really work well if they do not have the same attitude or vision as ourselves. So the only difficulties I feel is, one is we plan everything in such a way that we see everything rosy. I'll calculate, okay, per student, I get 5,000 rupees. So if I get 25 children, I get so much money. We only look at the positives while planning, but we don't see the negatives while planning. We actually have to prepare a projection plan or a project plan where we say, if I get 100 students, I get so much money and I am safe. If I get only 10 students, I have to invest so much money in the first year from my pocket. When we have anticipated the failure and the loss that can happen, and when we are prepared to handle that, business becomes easy. And we will start being calculative and responsible about every move in this. So the only difficult threat is, again, if you are coming out with a product which may not be the need for the customers, it is a threat. When the pandemic came, if there were big companies manufacturing suits and t-shirts and pants, they would undergo loss because there were not many people buying those things because none of us were going out. But what these companies did was immediately they switched over to manufacturing of gloves, aprons, PPE kits. So they were able to find what is required for the customers and immediately switch over. So the difficulty or threat will be that if we do not survey the market properly, before you start any business, have a proper survey done from the customers. Is there need for my product? Is there a demand for my product? How many other people are conducting this kind of business? Do I have an opportunity in this terrain? Should I do it in Kerala or should I go and do it in Karnataka? And if you are selling something in a country or a place where they may not require it, again, it will be a loss. So you need to do a little bit of survey, planning, discussion, feedback taking, and very importantly, a pilot test. Until your pilot test is done, if you wait and then plug all the loops, your business is going to be very successful. And today you have plenty of people who want to invest in your ideas. But unfortunately, what is happening, I've seen with youngsters like you, there was a young boy of 23 who came out of his college, started an excellent business. His idea was so good that one of the biggest business persons of Mysore invested in him. And today this boy's idea is completely used by the company, and this boy is only given a small share and he has no identity for himself. So you must be cautious about where you get your funding from. And don't plan projects with huge loans from the banks. Initially, till you learn business, you can have small investments or use it from your savings or borrow it from your friends and relatives who may give you at no interest or very low interest. So initially, till we learn business, if we can look at taking care of the initial risk factors, once you get a hang of it, and any business will be successful only when it rolls for 1,000 days. That is, till you complete 3 years, if you have the courage to withstand, you will definitely be successful. Why many startups are closing down today is they do not have the patience and consistency in their business. So, Beena, I hope I have been able to do justice to your question.
Yes, ma'am, it was clear. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Very good evening.
First of all, thank you for the valuable section.
Thank you.
Let me ask you that what are the possibilities to be explored by the next generation in the field of entrepreneurship in education?
Okay, thank you. I think it's a very important question, Manju. See, now today in future generation, I think there is a lot of scope for you to start companies which deliver the services schools require. If you're good at sport, today many schools are facing challenges in getting good sports teachers. You can have a company which provides sports to students. And national education policy has made lot of changes. It has suggested so many changes. And we need companies or we need people like you who can deliver those things. For example, now the pedagogy has to change. That is what NEP says, that we have to have differential assessment. It should not be the same kind of assessment. We should have testing of the competencies of children rather than having the content of children tested. So in this case, you can come up with an agency or a company which will conduct tests, for schools and colleges, where you can say you don't worry about the testing and examination. We have a software, we will test all your children for competencies, give you reports. Schools would be more than happy to outsource it to you. Schools are today facing a lot of challenges in many areas. One could be the assessment. Second is providing education, that is sports education. Third one is providing them the much required communication skill training. Many students face challenges in speaking English well. And if they're not good at English, they cannot learn the other subjects also. So you can start companies where you start teaching children English. English learning programs can be given. Montessori support programs can be provided. You can come out with apps of yourself, like your own, where children get gamification of concepts. There are ample opportunities. And you only have to identify what you are good at. And also there are different sectors. The high value schools or the costly schools have different requirements. The mid sector schools have different requirements. And the schools that have very less charges, like barely 5,000 or 10,000, they have different requirements. So you just have to decide where you want to work and you can start doing
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome. Dr. Mridula, I guess I'm not overshooting the time you had provided me.
No,
So
no, no,
please.
no problem.
Yeah.
If you are not exhausted, if there is any other question, let us hear them. Okay. If there is any other question, please pose it.
Dr. Mridula knows that there is no word called exhaustion in my dictionary. So I'm good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Please, if there is any other question, please.
Harita's sense of insecurity. Okay. Of course, that's going to be there. Yeah. See, one of the threats can be the sense of insecurity. See, but if we don't have a little bit of these things, we cannot move. Actually, entrepreneurs work like rockets. When the rocket flies, it's only when its tail is on fire. When you don't set fire, the rocket doesn't launch. It has to move against that. So only when there is a little bit of threat, little bit of insecurity, we work better. We will be cautious.
So if there is no other question left, let us move on to the final session.
Okay, ma'am. I think the questions are over now. So now let me invite Silfa Anna Joy, Secretary of Entrepreneurship Development Cell, for delivering vote of thanks.
Hello, Grishma. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. So, good afternoon, all. An entrepreneur always searches for changes, responds to it, and exploits it as an opportunity. So that's why entrepreneurship is a skill that should be developed in every individual to be more innovative, self-confident, creative, and of course, a financially independent person. And that's why entrepreneurship development cells are also very essential in our educational institutions. So today, it's such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank you all dignitaries who is present in our inaugural function of our entrepreneurship development cell of our college. Today, my words are not just enough to express my gratitude on behalf of our college. I would like to thank our honorable chief guest, Dr. Savita. As we already said, we can't find someone more apt than her to inaugurate our entrepreneur development cell because she herself is a great entrepreneur, a very good inspirer to all of us. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for accepting our invitation and for inaugurating our function. So thank you for your inspiring and encouraging words and making our day so special. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Silfa.
And now I would like to thank our beloved principal, Dr. Ampli Aravind ma'am, even though she was not able to join our meeting. I thank you, ma'am, for all the words of wisdom that radiated a source of energy within us. And we will ever be remain grateful to you and thank you for supporting us. Thank you, ma'am. And now I would like to thank a heartfelt thanks to our Entrepreneurship Development Cell Coordinator, Mridula ma'am, who really worked to coordinate and to work to develop such an entrepreneurship development cell in our college. And thank you, ma'am, for organizing such a wonderful section today. Thank you so much. And thank you for gathering all our students in this cell and also supporting us, for motivating us. Thank you, ma'am. And now I extend my gratitude to Agal sir, our staff advisor, and also Anantha Krishnan, our college union chairman, for your good words and wishes. Thank you, Agal sir, and thank you, Anantha Krishnan. And now a big thanks to all the Entrepreneurship Development Cell members for taking initiative for this function. And last but not the least, I thank you all the students for showing such interest in this section and also being so involved in this part of this meeting. Thank you all. And once again, I thank you all thank you so much for those who all assembled here. And remember, entrepreneurship is not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen. So make your ideas happen and fly high. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. You please leave the meet, all of you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, ma'am.